So if you're listening to this and you own a business, there are 3 phases that you should run inside of your marketing funnel. The first one is free content. The second one is paid ads. The third one is as you charge more for what you do, people work with you because of who you are, not what you do. It took me 20 videos, and in my 20th video, I had 170,000 views, and it was my daughter talking about spaghetti. It was all women. They didn't follow me, right? It was like tons of likes and all this stuff. No customers came from that. My next video was 200 views. I had 2 leads come through. One of them closed for $50,000.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Commercial Real Estate Blueprint Podcast. We have a very different episode today, but I'm excited. And I think it's very relevant to what's going on in the world and what we've seen in real estate and just small business in general. We have Phil Risher. The best way I think to describe him is he's basically an expert marketer when it comes to small businesses. He specializes in home service businesses, but we think there's a lot of crossover that can relate to commercial real estate because, in retail, you're marketing a lot of times to small business owners. Same thing with industrial. We talk a lot about, we have HVAC companies we rent to, plumbing companies we rent to. And the way that these people are finding out things is changing. It's not just Google anymore. There's a lot that goes into it. And Phil's an expert on this. So we think it's going to be a great and very valuable conversation. Thank you so much for coming on, Phil.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. I'm excited for the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I gave you a little brief intro, but tell us a little more about how you got into this business and what you do.
Yeah. So coming out of college, I worked at Enterprise Rent-A-Car in their management training program. And I became a branch manager when I was 25. We had about 300 cars. It was a $3 million business. We had 20 team members and I was responsible for it. And I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And he's like, hey, number one skill you can learn is how to sell. So I went into enterprise corporate and I was selling fleet management services to home service businesses, like $10 million plus businesses. At the same time, I started a blog about personal finance because I had paid off my student loans. I actually bought a condo with cash when I was 25. And my wife's kindergarten teacher, all our friends were like, how did you do this? What did you do? So I ended up creating this blog, which was a crash course in digital marketing. This was in 2015. So I was writing blog content, built a WordPress website, automations, MailChimp, all the stuff. I ended up getting featured in Forbes and CNBC, Yahoo Finance, a bunch of cool stuff. And when I was working at Enterprise selling fleet management, I did not like it. I enjoyed sales, but I didn't like what I was selling. So I actually quit my job and bought a school bus and made a little tiny home. And I traveled around the country just making content. And this was in 2018. And when I came back from that trip, one of my clients was a $3 million home service business who had been stuck there for 2 years. And when I went to work there, I was his director of business development. He went to $5 million in two years and then sold to private equity. And I was pretty much a whole part of that entire process. And then that was 7 years ago. Now I help home service businesses grow. Our average client last year grew 27%. So $250,000 to $1 million in revenue from our average client. And that's what we do. We have 23 team members, about $2.5 million business. And I love what I do. I love working with just normal blue collar, getting after it type people.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
That's cool. You kind of glossed over something wild. You said you bought a bus and turned it into a tiny home and traveled around. That's sick. Prior to us having lots of children, me and my wife have a lot of kids.
Yeah.
We wanted to do something similar. Now it's probably, we probably won't live there, but we still want to go RVing across the country and something like that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, Jesse, it's funny, man, because my wife and I have been dating for about 8 years. Okay. Wow. And so she's like, bro, are we getting married or what's up? And then I went to her house and I was like, hey, I'm actually quitting my corporate job, right? This really nice, cushy sales job, enterprise corporate. And I'm going to buy a school bus and travel around the country for 3 or 4 months and just make content before we get married eventually. So it was we're agreeing what you're saying. Before I got married, it was I got to either do this now or when I get old, probably.
Yeah.
And so my wife's you're just she's my girlfriend at the time. This is just crazy. But yeah, I bought a bus. It was $5,000, an old Catholic school bus from upstate New York. And it had 70,000 miles on it. I bought it for $5,000. I redid the inside for $2,000 and then it was ready to roll. So I traveled around and camped places. I did news interviews because I was promoting my blog, created content, that kind of stuff.
That's cool. So I'm curious, were you monetizing content?
Yeah. So this was the hardest part was I was really good at getting the leads, getting visibility, but I couldn't crack the code on how to actually monetize. So I had 40,000 visitors to my website every single month. I was featured on all these things. I was making all this content, but I could never figure out how to make money. So over 4 years of doing digital marketing, I probably made $4,000. And that's why when I went to work at the duct cleaning company, it was like, okay, now I actually have something I can sell that makes money. And all I have to do is just get visibility and leads coming in. And it was like a match made in heaven. Plus I had my enterprise experience of running a local service business. So that's why everything kind of came to a head. And that's why what we do right now is like so impactful, because I have two different things to draw from.
That's cool. So I guess I'm a little unclear when you mentioned the duck company thing. So tell us about how you have those tied together and then how you monetize it.
Yeah. So I was selling fleet management, and one of my clients was this $3 million duct cleaning company who had about 20 vehicles. And when I went to talk with him, he loved my paying off my debt. I told him I was buying a bus. He loved all my stuff. And so he actually he tracked my whole journey when I was traveling and everything. And when I came back, he was like, "Hey man, doing really good stuff. Like, could you come and work with me and be my director of business development?" And I was like, "Cool. Like, I'll try it out." And when I went to work there, all my worlds collided. Like good digital marketing, leads, conversions, good local service business experience of enterprise. And I finally had something that I could actually like make money with here by selling duct cleaning, you know? And then it was funny because he ended up selling his company, and he actually named my company Flash Consulting. And he was like, go sell whatever you just did for my business to other businesses. And he introduced me to more businesses. And that's kind of how I got started.
That's awesome.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's pretty sweet.
That's super cool. So I guess let's jump into it. You know, what should a small business be doing right now since everything's so different? So let's, like, I guess tell us about the progression that you told us, you know, before we started recording, of going from white pages or yellow pages or whatever it is to Google to now AI and all this stuff. So like how things have changed tremendously and why it's important.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you own a business, there are 3 phases that you should run inside of your marketing funnel. And this is what I uncovered when I went to work at the duct cleaning company. And it's relevant to my business, relevant to your business. The first one is visibility. How are you going to get customers coming in? And Alex Hormozy has a thing on this called the core 4 ways to get leads. The first one is free content. So social media content, blog content, anything free online, YouTube videos. The second one is paid ads, running paid ads with return on ad spend. The third one is warm outreach B2B partnerships. So partnering with people that are going to send you leads. And the fourth one is cold outreach. So the first pillar is visibility, and we can dive into these and I'll talk about AI search and all that stuff. The second pillar is conversions. So this was my problem. Just because you get leads or people coming to your website, you need them to convert into an actual sale. And the way that you do that is you have some type of like a high value content offer, an estimate calculator, something that converts them from a website visitor or an interest into actually getting onto your email list, getting an appointment set with them, and then actually closing the deal. And then the third pillar is retargeting. And this is basically email marketing, text marketing, and keeping people in your funnel, whether they came in and they leaked out, but you need to stay top of mind with them. So email newsletters, there's a bunch of strategies on that we could talk about. That is like the basic wrapper of what a good marketing system looks like, the 3 different phases. However, there's this huge shift that's happening right now, as you alluded to, which is in Google search and AI search. And it's the biggest shift since like yellow pages to Google search, now Google search to AI search. So on my podcast, I had Neil Patel on, who's like the OG of SEO. I have Marcus Sheridan, who's like big in the home service based SEO. And I basically asked them, like, what should we be doing to prepare for AI search? And we test this out on our clients as well. The big shift is this. A lot of people think that content creation is just for likes and shares and maybe get a customer out of it. And it's not. The reason that you need to be creating content right now is because large language models are trained on content. And if you are not creating content to train these large language models, they don't know anything about you. And if you just rely on Google reviews or something else that's out there floating out, you're not going to be able to influence them to trust you. And the way that they trust you is by creating content. So that's a really big shift that's happening. The other one is in how people search. So you mentioned about people go to Google search, they get 10 blue links, and it's like, okay, this is nice. You know, maybe I'll go and like read these things, see who I want to work with or figure things out. The CEO of Google just last month, he did an interview about the shift to what's called agentic search. So right now in Google Labs, they have this thing where you can actually turn on agentic search, and it's going to find you a restaurant for like OpenTable or Resi, and it will go and find the information for you and then come back and actually schedule you a reservation and do the stuff. So what Sundar Patel was talking about was in 2027, Google is going to have agentic searches happening where people are going to have an agent that they're searching for things and then it's going out and finding things. And you have to prepare your stuff so that way it trusts your business. So we can talk more and unpack that, but that's like essentially the big shift that's happening and people are not ready for it.
I'm curious, so we do this podcast, right?
Yes.
So we put out a lot of content, obviously on, Buzzsprout, but then it goes to Apple, goes to Spotify, all that stuff. Is a AI agent going to pick that up, or is it got to be like written text or?
Yeah. So one of the big shifts, Google actually just put out how to rank for AI content and like just trying to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
Essentially, there's two big parts to it, which is the type of content and the volume of content. Because right now there's this trust regression, recession. People do not trust people because it's AI slop and all this junk.
Yeah.
So to your point, Graham, yes, you want to create as much content as possible that's real. However, you could also think about using that content and repurposing it in different types of content. Because so with home service businesses right now, we are shifting from tracking keywords to tracking conversations, because keywords are going to be irrelevant because people are going to be interacting with these agents more conversationally. Just like someone uses ChatGPT now, they don't say HVAC repair near me or commercial real estate Dallas, right? They say, I'm looking for a hybrid space that like they're talking to it, right?
Yeah.
And so the conversation transformation, there's two things that you have to focus on with the shift to conversations. It's called share of voice and mention rate. And share of voice is the amount of times that you show up on a specific prompt, and the way that you show up more is the types of content. So to answer your question, Graham, yes, the podcast is great, but if you could take the podcast and chop it into shorts, take the podcast transcript and turn it into blog content for your website and FAQs, and have it more like fanning out into multiple different types of content, it will help you in the share of voice piece because it's going to show different things. And then the mention rate is specifically answering questions that your customers are asking. And that way it can cite you. The mention rate is literally, it's citing you as the expert. And so instead of people tracking keywords, they're going to be tracking those things going into the future. We're already doing this there's tools out there for it.
Yeah. So tracking frequently asked questions instead of like names or something like that, because they're actually looking for the actual content. Like, what is the answer to my question? And the AI is going to cite you through that.
Yes. So Bright Local, they're a research tool for SEO. Basically what they found was the average Google search has 4 keywords, like HVAC repair near me, commercial real estate near me.
Mm-hmm.
The actual ChatGPT or AI search has 347 words because people are asking it a lot more conversationally. So Jesse, the actual terms are, instead of keywords, it's actually called prompts.
Okay.
So essentially what we're doing for our clients and what I would recommend for businesses is figuring out what your customers are actually asking. And we can talk about some strategies for this. And then using a tool to figure out the prompts, but more importantly, just answer those questions.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a couple different strategies that we could talk about of like figuring that out and then what you should be doing.
I got 2 questions from that. So one, we're going to start turning our podcast into a newsletter, but it's going to be on LinkedIn. Does that matter?
Yeah. So what we do, for my like flash consulting for my business, because we're B2B as well, like we target B2B people. What we do is I record a YouTube video. That YouTube video gets turned into an AEO, answer engine optimization blog post, SEO, whatever you want to call it, blog post.
Mm-hmm.
Then we also turn it into a newsletter for LinkedIn, which is good. But then we also turn that into static image posts on LinkedIn and written word posts on LinkedIn. And then the email newsletter that we send out is to all of our subscribers on our email list. We have about like 3,000 business owners. Then we have like a roll up every single week on Thursdays where we put all of our greatest hits. So here was our best short. Here was our best podcast interview. Here was this. And it's like a greatest hits one. And then we take the YouTube video and we turn it into a words email. That's just an email that's just straight value, just words, like 150 to 300 words of just like the top nuggets from that video in an email. So essentially, Graham, it's just like cutting it into as much as possible. So that way you have this dispersion, because I'm sure you guys might consume content different than someone else. You might not even go on LinkedIn and other people might go on YouTube or LinkedIn, or you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So does a lot of that stuff, like the blog, lives on your website, is what you're saying? Like multiple places, but like the main place is like, or one of the main places is your website.
Yeah. And this is very transformational for a lot of people when they hear this. You are not writing blogs for Sally, who's going to be Googling you and reading your blog post when she's trying to sleep at night. You're starting to create content for the agents because no one's reading blogs. Like maybe they read a blog when they're searching something, they go and they search, but you're writing the content so that the agents are finding the information that they need to trust you. Because basically what they're talking about is that websites are really going to be irrelevant as a form of people going to websites. We already know that the 0 clicks are happening. Like people just go and search things and find information. They're not really going to websites as much. However, you still need to have information on your website as kind of like that hub of truth and that knowledge base to be able to build trust. But it's not just a website, it's all these other platforms as well, which is why the content matters.
Got it. I'm also making YouTube videos, and the YouTube videos are mostly about, it's outside of the podcast, about like, our client, which is people who want to buy industrial real estate. And I'm answering very specific problems and questions, like kind of like you said. So does it pick up things from YouTube videos too, or is it the same thing where you got to go put it in writing to where it can pick it up there?
Yeah, about a year ago, Google started indexing short form content. So if you were to go to Google right now and type in like commercial real estate, right at the top where you see videos, there's also a short video section. So it's all getting indexed in. So yes, that's fine. What I would recommend doing is breaking those FAQs into chunks, like shorts, like just straight FAQ, and then having it chunked out specifically like on your website with FAQs. One of the biggest things that we built an agent, we call him Turner. Essentially, and you can do this for your business as well. We just built it for a home service business. But what I would recommend doing is every single call that you have with a prospect, you should record it and then take that transcript and turn it into the FAQs of what the actual customer is asking, how they say it, and then create content on that. So whatever happens in that transcript, that's the real questions. And then you have a hub for the content. Yep.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. I would have never thought about that. I actually also own a glove business that's very niche. It's directly targeted to manufacturing tenants, clients, however you want to say it. And I'm just like, my mind is turning on all of this because the blog posts that we've always done, they're like, well, you can't use AI for them and stuff. And like you're saying, nobody's reading the blog posts. Nobody's reading them.
So we built Turner, right? So what Turner does is, so we use call tracking phone numbers for our clients. So you call a plumber, and that call tracking number, if it's over 3-minute conversation, Turner takes that call transcript and turns it into an optimized blog post, social post, and video hooks. And then he analyzes all the calls and he rolls it up into a dashboard that shows all the frequently asked questions and then the top questions that your customers are asking and then any new ones your customers are asking. So that way you can create content on it. And he's already creating content on it. But essentially what businesses need to do now is they need to know what their customer is asking and then create the real content from that. And if you get it in the same instance, the same, conversation, then just use that and then create the content and then like take that transcript and use that.
Yeah. So basically for people that are in commercial real estate, what you're thinking of is you're trying to pull out the objections of why people don't want to sell. And then just for example, like, how do I avoid taxes in selling my property? Well, you either go seller finance route, you're going 1031 route, find a replacement property, and you start creating content based on that. And then people will start finding you based on that, which is just insane.
I'll give you a little secret sauce on top of this that most people don't think about. So right now I have a digital twin of me. The digital twin is trained on everything, this podcast, all my YouTube content, everything I've ever said online. And my team and people that buy this thing that we downsell to people can ask it any question that they want. And it's going to cite the video and the source of exactly what I said. So imagine I have a new hire that comes on board. Hey, go to my digital twin. We call it Flash GPT. And you can ask it any question and it's going to cite the source. You can put in our SOPs and all this stuff. When I tell business owners about this, they're like, how can I get my hands on something like that? What can I do? So I'll tell you how to do it, but there's an overarching theme to this. So I use a tool called Delphi, DELPHI.ai. And essentially it pulls in all of your content for you automatically and creates this LLM, large language model, on you. There's also a free tool called Notebook LM by Google where you can build this kind of yourself if you just like put in Word documents or spreadsheets from different conversations. All of that is like, you can build that easy. Here's the biggest issue. When I tell business owners, they say, I want that. The problem is that they're not creating content, so they don't have any content to funnel into this thing. And imagine, Jesse, the reason that I thought of this was because imagine in your sales process and you get these objections. Imagine if you had your own AI agent or avatar that someone could interact with and ask it questions on your behalf 24/7. Imagine this is on your website. And I believe that, imagine there's an agent on Google that's interacting with your agent that knows everything about you, that now you have everything synced up and communicating all together. The problem is that if you believe that content is just for likes and shares and you don't get any views and it's a waste of time, then you're going to miss the opportunity that's the shift into content and building a relationship with these LLMs.
Interesting. So that's actually a big W for us because we've been posting a podcast for like over a year.
Yeah.
And I've been posting on YouTube for like a good long while too. So like, Delphi and have it feed all that stuff in there.
Yeah. And this is what I'm saying. Like, and imagine for your listeners or even email subscribers, you have this tool now that they can ask it any question and your subject matter experts come on, you come on and you can interact with it. So like we downsell it to our prospects. If they're under $1 million, we say, hey, you can get our mind for $100 a month. You literally ask it any question, you ask it to do anything and it's going to answer all the stuff. And it's like a no brainer because you get all of our stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it does it all for you. You just go in there and you type in, hey, here's my YouTube, here's my LinkedIn, all that stuff in it.
Bro, yeah, you just put in your YouTube channel, and then anytime a new YouTube video comes out, it links up your knowledge base.
Wow.
It's all right there. Yeah.
That's insane. Because we have an intern who we hired, shout out to him, and he pulled all our old LinkedIn and podcast transcripts from, Riverside where we record. He did that manually.
Yeah.
So we could have had him do that maybe.
Yes. There's other agents like, do y'all know about Victor? Oh, okay. So Victor is another agent. Basically, Victor. So, okay, this is crazy. So what Victor does, it's not a tool that I built. It's just like an AI tool that's out there. Essentially, what Victor does is he links up with all your different softwares. So imagine, do y'all use like HubSpot or Asana or Trello or any tools like that?
We use like Follow Up Boss.
Okay. And then that's fine. And then Google Drive, anything like that. Okay. So imagine all of your tech stack. Victor connects with all your tech stack. And then you Slack Victor and say, do this or do that. And he will connect all the dots and do it. But more importantly, you can schedule Victor to do things on your behalf. So I'll give you a perfect example. We have client calls with an HVAC contractor. It's Victor, Viktor.
Yeah, I'm writing it down.
We have client calls with HVAC contractors. And on that client call, we have action items that come up that we need to do. What Victor does is he takes the Fathom recording, those action items, and he goes to Asana, which is our project management software, and he tasks everything out perfectly. We also send reports at the end of the month. Those reports, Victor can build them. He goes to the Google Drive, he pulls the data, he then creates it the way that we do it. He also pulls stuff from their Google Analytics, from their Google Ads account, and he builds it. And then our team says, yep, this is good to go. He can go into our Gmails and draft responses to all of our emails. So Graham, yes, there are tools out there that could pretty much do that automatically.
That's wild. Like Jesse said, my head's spinning. And I feel like probably a lot of people, I feel like that's the thing about AI. There's so much you can do. And it's like, there's 1,000 different directions you can run and start building and do this and do that. And it's like people get, including myself, get overwhelmed. Like, where the heck do you even start? Because there's so much going on. Like, this guy's got a GPT, that's got a bot, and there's like so many different things. So I feel like, your company is kind of like a solution to that in the sense of where you can implement it for somebody. Yeah.
The biggest thing that I found is there's like these 3 big bottlenecks that this is what I face in my home service business and pretty much any business. I'm still facing it right now. The 3 bottlenecks are data. So like knowing my data, like how many leads did I get, how like my return on ad spend, all that stuff. Like it's still on me as the owner to figure that out. Automations, like I'm still kind of putting stuff together, and then good marketing, not just like cookie cutter stuff that you email stuff.
Yeah.
So like what I built my company to do for home service business is fix those 3 buckets. So that way we can outsource the whole thing and then you don't have to worry about it. But I wish I had something for my business that I could do that for now, because it's those are the hardest things, like what you're saying, Graham. It's like, how do I stay on top of this stuff? How do I know what to do? I'm trying to build a business, but then also like I got to do all this stuff.
Yeah. Have you gotten into using AI for cold outreach at all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the problem with we use Instantly, and there's other tools like Apollo, and then I'll give you a couple of different strategies that we've tried. The problem with my avatar is that they're $1 million to $10 million home service businesses owners.
Yeah,
it's very hard to get in touch with them, and you can ask anyone that does cold outreach. It's very, very hard to get those people on the phone because they're not in the office. They're usually out, all that stuff. However, Victor, we had Victor go through and scrub websites on the internet for anyone that in the footer had any of our competitors, because usually competitors put the footer their logos.
Yeah.
Like, digital marketing by this company. And so we say, go through and scrub all the websites that have this footer, because that's going to be our target audience usually. So that's one way to like build a list. And then we also are building this tool, another agent, and essentially what the agent does, and we just built this one through Claude, just by talking to it. We have this partner pipeline builder where imagine so we did duct cleaning, and we partnered with about 150 HVAC contractors, and we had their technicians sending us leads. And it was a very manual process. But we built a tool where we can say, okay, I'm an HVAC contractor in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I want 50 complimentary services in a 50-mile radius. So then it's going to pull like plumbers, electricians, all these Google business profiles. And then it's going to find the owners' emails and phone numbers. So that way we can reach out to them and build a partnership with them. So there's a lot of cool things, just like whatever you can think you can pretty much make.
That's amazing. So I want to, 2 things. One is that I feel like we touched on something very important, which the first thing is like with this, you need to know your audience. because you said, it's very hard to find those people, $1 to $10 million. And then Jesse made a comment earlier that I just kind of sparked. He was like, yeah, we need to trade in these people on or the AI agent on seller financing and 1031 and stuff like that. But then I had the thought, it's like the people that we're reaching out to, because we buy industrial buildings, are 70, 80 years old. And the chances of them using an AI agent to find us are 2%. So it's you got to optimize for the right client and know who your client is. Because maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like our end person, the seller we're trying to get, is not going to be chatting with the AI agent.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. One thing that I will say about this is that, so Bright Local, the tool that I mentioned, they did a study, and what they found was, where do people go to do searches? And this was local search. Now, it might be a little different for your business, but boomers was around 85% of them still go to Google.
Yep.
Gen Z was 45% of them go to Google. The rest is social media and AI and stuff, of course. So there's a big shift happening. However, I'm sure you've experienced this on Google. There's a big shift that's happening on just the Google search engine results page in AI overviews, in AI mode, in what they show, what they don't show. And this is not, they're doing it very structurally because they don't want to drop a bomb on those people that are 70 and 80 years old, because they want them to continue to use Google. So if you notice every single week or month, there's a little change that's switching a little bit more to AI overviews, AI mode. What's this? Curiosity. And this is why he just did this interview. By 2027, it's going to be completely shifted. But those people they're not going to know it, but they're naturally going to be shifting over to that. That's what true. I will say though, Graham and Jesse, you can build calculators, for example, that a lot of times those older people would love to be able to use. For example, you mentioned about taxes. If you have a calculator that's maybe on a Google sheet or something, you could use Claude to build a calculator for you that you could have on your website or use in your sales process that would help them figure out numbers. That would be living online. So we built a growth roadmap where people plug in their revenue now and then where they want to get to, and then a couple other numbers, and it's going to show them a growth roadmap. So there's other tools that you can build aside from just agent stuff that might be helpful in your sales process for some of these people.
That's sick. That's sick. So that's a great point. The next thing I was going to discuss is let's role play it. So our audience is people who want to get into commercial real estate investing and or they're switching from residential real estate investing into commercial real estate investing. So if I told you just that, what would be your guidance on how to take advantage of this stuff?
Okay, this might surprise you, but we can talk about the AI stuff. But if I take off my AI and woo-woo stuff and I just go back to the basics, there's a really great book from Dan Kennedy called Marketing to the Affluent. And in that book, what he says is, as you charge more for what you do, people work with you because of who you are, not what you do. And so if I was in that shoes, Graham, I would build up my personal brand and my accreditations and what I do. So that way, when I reach out to people, they say, oh, it's Graham. Of course I want to talk to him. Oh, it's Phil Risher. It basically builds your credibility up. So what I did was I started a podcast and I got people like Neil Patel and other people on there. So that way I can say this is a guy that I had on my podcast, and it instantly credibility. Yeah. So take all the AI stuff out of it. And you need to have some type of a back that's who is this guy or who is this girl? And what are they about and what credibility do they have? And how do you build that when you don't have any credibility? Is you associate with other people, you add a ton of value, and you get a following or a brand of some sort. Now, the second piece is from an AI perspective, I would lead into content. And especially if you're just getting started, you might not have the use cases or even the expertise to know, Jesse, whatever you said, I have no idea what that means. But what I would do is I would bring people on you onto a podcast and talk about things to stand out as a subject matter expert, kind of like what you're probably guys are doing, building that brand. Yeah. But then the other thing I would do is I would highlight stories about it, go green screen style and talk about commercial real estate and industrial things. And you mentioned, Graham, about 70, 80-year-olds, maybe they're getting out of the game and that would be your target audience. So I would specifically focus on that avatar. Hey, if you're 70 or 80-year-old that's selling something, and I would talk about stories of those things, about the other side of selling it. That way I might attract those people to see something. There's a big shift on social media from followers to the interest media. Basically now the TikTokification of social media is that it's going to show you whatever is your interest. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I would create content that would be interesting to my target avatar, which would be if you're 70 or 80-year-old, this is going to be interest to you, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
because
that's
those people
great.
use Facebook. Those people use Facebook. Sometimes they might even think they're cool and be on Instagram. But like even on Facebook, I know that they're on there, right? We know that they're on there. So just create the content and it's going to get to them if it's the right fit.
That's a good point. Last month we did a Higher Up Wellness Challenge where we talked about anything for 60 seconds without messing up. And I tried to focus on some content at least that was, related to commercial real estate. Honestly, some of the better content was just other hot topics that I had brought up. But I could tell going through the analytics that it was pushing majority of my posts to people that didn't follow me.
Oh, yeah.
Like a lot of people that were following me didn't even really watch my videos. It was people I didn't know.
Yeah, I will say this. So I have about like 5,000 followers on Instagram, and I was like, I don't have posts that go viral like that, but I was like, I just want to try to build a viral post and go for it, like whatever it is. I talk about like business and stuff, and I might get 500 to 1,000 views on videos, which is fine. We get leads from it because it's our target avatar.
Yeah.
But I'll give you the story. It took me 20 videos, and my 20th video, I had 170,000 views. And it was my daughter talking about spaghetti, and it was all women. They didn't follow me, right? It was like tons of likes and all this stuff, but no customers came from that. My next video was 200 views. I had 2 leads come through. One of them closed for $50,000.
Wow.
So it's more about the more niche that you can talk to your actual avatar opposed to the views, likes, and shares. And that's the whole thing that I'm trying to get to is like, it's not about the likes and shares. It's just about talking to your audience and adding value. And then you will get in front of them as long as it pertains to them.
Yeah, 100%. That's insane because do you know who Taki Moore is?
Yeah, I have his book about webinars.
Yeah, so he's a beast, obviously, and I've been watching a lot of his content lately, and he's been using that example of Alex Hormozi and how he has a 3 million or whatever follower YouTube channel that makes him not a lot of money because it's based on virality and likes and clicks, and then he also has this small channel that he just started, has like 75,000, which is still big to me, but 75,000 subs, and he answers super niche business questions and goes after his target audience. And that one makes him far more money than the viral channel. And like, that's exactly what you just described.
Exactly. On our YouTube channel, we have 2,000 subscribers. And last year, we probably had 10 clients close just from YouTube. And if the average ticket is $50,000, I mean, do the math, like 2,000 subscribers, whatever. Our last client that we just closed, it was an air duct cleaning company in Utah. She literally found us from Claude. On her intake form, she says, how do you find us? Claude. And the reason is she asked, who's the best marketing company for air duct cleaning businesses that are over $1 million? It's like Flash Consulting, of course. And then she, closed within a week. So this is the whole thing about creating content, the subscribers and all that stuff. It matters, but it doesn't matter. It matters about creating good, valuable content that people are going to watch.
Yeah.
That's incredible. We're kind of experiencing that now. So I started a second YouTube channel outside of the podcast, and I'm talking all things real estate, how to get into it, commercial wise, industrial, what we look at in deals and stuff like that. I'm approaching 2,000 subs. I have like 1,750 or something like that. But I had so many people reach out about wanting to get into commercial real estate as like, how do they do it and transition from residential to commercial, that we're now starting like a program where we're going to be coaching people on how to do that. And like you said, I've got I think we have 15 calls in the next 2 weeks or 16 calls of clients, people who want to learn how, just off of a 1,700 subscriber YouTube channel.
Exactly. So good. And if you have like a Delphi tool, right, you could have that in your program, or you could even use it as lead gen or a super downsell that's just like, hey, some passive thing that's valuable on both ends for people. And as you create more content, it's going to feed this engine. So yeah, there's a lot of cool things that you can do to monetize now.
That's amazing. That's incredible. Jesse, you have a question?
No, I was just thinking I don't know, maybe we just need to spend the time on AI and asking it how to reach the 70 to 80 group. And I think it might just be through what we were talking about with Google and how people are searching stuff on Google. And I don't know, maybe we need to start a website. I don't know. My mind is just going on a bunch of different things right now.
What I would recommend, Jesse, do y'all have 70 or 80-year-old clients or people that you've worked with in the past?
Oh, yeah. Sellers of buildings. So our focus is we're trying to buy buildings. Like we do brokerage, but I'm sure this could, we could go crazy in the brokerage too with this stuff. But our main focus is buying buildings, and just so happens the avatar is people who are about to retire. They want to sell their industrial building specifically.
Exactly. So I would go to those people and like, hey, we did a deal last year. I just wanted to touch base, see how life's going, and just like catch up. And then I would turn on voice memos on my phone and have a conversation with them, or hop on a Google Meets or whatever and record it and have as much information like, hey, just out of curiosity, what was like the main reasons why you wanted to sell? What did you experience after you sold? Was it good, bad? Like get all of those things right from their mouth. Mm-hmm. And then same thing with if you were to go through that sales process again, get all of that stuff, because that's going to be the content that you want to make, is based off whatever they say. And a lot of times, the reason that I'm bringing this up, Jesse, is because a lot of times right now, people start with content on ChatGPT, which is just like slop, where
100%.
what we really need to do is start with the real things that our customers are saying, and then we can make it better using ChatGPT. But it doesn't know. You really need to get the basis of the actual calls, which is like what I was talking about, starting with your actual customer.
Yep. Forget the name of the the book exactly, but design the product. The theme of the book is to design the product around whatever the customer needs. And so you start with the customer and then you work back to the product. So in this sense, you're starting with what the person who's selling their building, what they need, and then designing the product, content, everything around that.
Exactly. The book right here from Marcus Sheridan is called They Ask, You Answer, which is whatever they ask, and then you answer that question and talk through that in their exact words. And the real pro tip I would say on this part that a lot of people miss this is, once you start getting the actual words and you have one of those videos pop off, Gary Vee talks about this, then you double down on that content topic. Do you guys know Dan Martell?
Of course.
Yeah. So I'm in a coaching program with a couple people, but his creative director, Sam, I was just on a call on Tuesday because I'm in Caleb Ralston's program. I don't know if maybe you know him.
Caleb Ralston, he just came up in the Talking More webinar, I believe.
Okay, so I'm in Caleb Ralston's coaching program, and on Tuesday, Sam was on his thing doing a live event. So on that live event, what Sam was talking about is basically, once you get one of these outlier videos, then you take that and you just double down on that. And usually any creator has 10 to 12 topics that are like their core topics that you can make a topic on this and like crush it. So essentially, Jesse, you mentioned like you might have one or two that popped off. You would take that and then you could use ChatGPT like, hey, I want to take this topic and then fan it out into like that core topic, but then other ways to say it. Mm-hmm. And then once you get that tight, then you can run ads on that, because you already know that it's going to serve up for organic. So when you serve it as an ad, people are going to be naturally wanting to watch it because you already know that it hits. Yeah. And it's a really nice transition from like start to finish.
Yeah, that's wild. We had Sam on the podcast last year, I think.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick. Yeah.
So
y'all know he dropped probably so many gems.
He did. Oh, yeah. He did. It's funny. We were in Austin, Texas, doing a podcast with a guy named Brian Lubin. I don't know if you know him or not. He's like the commercial real estate business guy. So like he talks about how to leave your job by buying businesses and then also buying commercial real estate. Like that's his whole thing. He's got a mastermind about it. But we were there and we were in the Yeti store because we were killing time because our flight got delayed. And Jesse was like, yeah, Dan Martell, he's in Austin and he's picking up a Ferrari. And then like next thing we know, we see this Ferrari fly by. He's like, oh, there goes a Ferrari. I'm like, that was probably him. And just like, maybe. And so then we look at it on his story and it's got like, I can't remember exactly. I want to say he did like a video. He didn't show the outside, but he had like yellow interior.
Yeah, yellow interior and the side mirror was black. And
with a yellow stripe, right?
F12 with yellow like accents like in the brake calipers and stuff and stripes and stuff. And then Graham's like, that was Dan Martell 100%. I was like, shoot, maybe it was.
A picture and put it on Instagram. It's like, oh, we just saw Dan Martell fly past in his Ferrari or something. And then I put my phone in my pocket and we walked back from the Yeti store to our hotel, probably a 20-minute walk, opened up my phone and had 3 missed calls from Dan Martell on Instagram.
Yep. Wow.
And we're like, no. And so I tried to call him back and we never got him back on the phone.
Wow.
I was so mad though.
That's crazy. That's wild.
Yeah, it was wild. That was a little side story, but yeah.
Yeah, small world.
So I got like maybe one last question for you. So how, Jesse talked about this earlier. We might get some of those people searching us up on Google AI, and then if we optimize, they might say, oh, I want to sell my building, and then they find us. I think that's a great way we need to explore. But the most of what we're doing though is cold outreach. So we cold call, we send mailers, we drive around, we talk to brokers, stuff like that. And that's what a lot of our listeners are doing. So talk to us about how we can improve that process.
So that core 4 that I mentioned, the 4th one is cold outreach. What I can say is that I don't have any experience with that. So what I believe would work is more of a warm outreach. So for example, downloading something online and then having something to reach out to, or scheduling something like some type of like high value content offer that they download and then having an appointment setter reach out to them to schedule it. One of the things that my company is doing that we're switching to is it's called a low ticket funnel. So essentially we're having people purchase something for like $27. And then instead of sending it to them, we're building it with them on a call. So then we have to have a call. And then on that call, we're basically talking about our Ascension offer. It's a much different shift than just like, hey, running ads to this downloadable thing. But it's like, hey, no, we got to hop on a call and build it for you and then go to this. Mm-hmm. The cold outreach thing, I don't have a good solution for that because we haven't been able to crack the code on that for my business.
Got it. It's probably a lot different too. One of our buddies does. Gosh, what is that program he used? What was that program that we looked at, Jesse? That
Which one?
I won't say his name. I mean, I don't think he'd care, but I don't think he'd want us to give his secrets out. But it was basically like something that you could go in and it would go out and pull phone numbers, email addresses.
Like Apollo maybe, or Rocket Reach, or
Man, it was very complicated. Jesse, you tried to use it and you couldn't figure it out. I couldn't really figure it out either.
I'm drawing a complete blank.
That's all good. Oh, Clay. That's what it's called. Popped in my head. Clay.
Oh, Clay, yeah.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah. It worked. I was able to get a bunch of contacts and stuff. I really didn't see any fruit from it personally. But it does pull quite a bit of stuff. It pulls a lot of information, phone numbers, emails. I think a lot of the numbers that we had gotten were like front desk type of numbers and not direct numbers. I think that was probably one of the bigger things that I took from it, but I'm trying to remember because it's been so long.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember either, but
Yeah.
awesome. Well, this has been crazy value, in my opinion. Wildly different from what we normally talk about, but I feel like very relevant to people wanting to get in commercial real estate or people who own commercial real estate, how to market to tenants and stuff like that. Because, we talked a lot about like one of our clients. We have like 3, right? So we've got the people who we're talking to on the podcast who, we want to add value to them and we want them to be investors with us eventually or partners, or they want us to, if they're brokers, want them to bring us deals, or maybe now that we have this coaching offer, they can hop on our coaching business. And then if we've got buildings we own, we've got tenants. So then we're targeting businesses and we need a HVAC company to come rent our space. And then we've got the people we want to buy the buildings from. So there's like so many different avatars. But anyways, what I'm saying is people who own commercial real estate, if it's retail, industrial, you just put on a masterclass on how to attract tenants.
Yeah.
Hey,
Exactly.
building for rent near me. Well, now you know what to do. So I think it's very relevant, and also the content thing too. I think for the most part now everybody understands that content is very essential, but different than what you think. It's not viral. It's not virality. It's
Correct.
context and actually adding value. People use that term. They want to add value, and a lot of people use it cheesily, but actually adding value, actually providing information to problems, to people, and it will lead to good things.
Yeah, for sure. I would say if this is scary to you, creating content, anything like that, like this is the new normal. So you got to get comfortable with it. Especially right now, there's the big phase between now and when like actual digital AI avatars come out and anyone can be an influencer or build a brand. Now is a time where you can capitalize and really build a brand for yourself, which is the biggest opportunity.
I think so. And that's what we're doing right now. And it's what sounds like what you're doing. And if you're listening to this and you haven't started yet, just start now because it takes a long time. Yep. You learn a lot and, it can be a snowball effect, but you got to start now. It's not like something that you're just going to do overnight. I mean, maybe you'll get lucky, but I feel like for the most people, it's going to take you years. So absolutely. Awesome. Well, if people want to find out more about you and reach out to you about your business and your consulting, what's the best place to do it?
Yeah, well, home service business stuff, you can go to flashconsulting.com, PHLASH consulting.com. If you're just like, hey, Phil, you seem like a cool dude, Instagram and LinkedIn, Phil Risher, that's where I hang out. So it's the best place.
Awesome. Well, you heard it here, guys. Thank you so much for coming on, and we will see you guys in the next one.